And welcome to the Republican cast. Hall and a Democrat Congress. So please help me welcome him to the stage. Hello, Thomas. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing well. I am glad to not be driving on the roads right now, to be honest.
Yeah, it sleeted pretty bad earlier, at least over here.
Yeah, it could
I think you're lagging a little bit. I don't know if it's me or if it's you. I don't think it's me, but I'm not sure.
okay. How about now? Is that better?
That's a lot better.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect.
I thought it was maybe. I don't know. We'll try it.
Okay, we'll see. We'll just cut out this part when I actually post this. So
Okay,
that's
sounds
that's
good.
that's why we record it. But tell us where you're located and what you're running for and who can vote for you.
Okay, so I'm located in Martinsville, Indiana, which is as it's under my name in the fourth district. Um, you said tell you wanted me to say a little bit about, or a little bit about myself, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a Teamster at UPS. So I've been in the union for 2 years. Honestly, it's been probably one of the best things that happened to me, and that's I'll segue a little bit into my campaign. That's why I'm very focused on labor, is because my quality of life has improved a lot. Like for example, I don't pay anything for health insurance. My deductible is 100, and 1,000 max out of pocket. So that's the kind of insurance that I want to give people, because that is really good insurance.
I did not
So
know insurance that like that existed anymore.
yeah, and not only that, you don't pay anything for it. They give you free vision, free life, free short-term disability, free long-term disability, pension if you stay there long enough. I'm trying to think of all the other dental. It's pretty
Right.
good. Like it's like the best plans you can get. That's why a lot of small business owners will come and work there, just because
Okay.
it's. But that's the kind of coverage I want for every American. I think if you could have that kind of coverage for everybody, I think it would be really affordable. I don't think it would raise taxes that much, if really any at all. You're paying for it already. I know I'm going a little bit into my campaign, so I'll just add one more thing and then talk a little bit about myself. But um, yeah, I mean, you're paying for it with your insurance premiums, so why not just pay for it with taxes instead? But aside from that, I have a daughter, I have a wife, um, I own my home, so you know, I would. Let's see, what else can I say?
Do you have any pets?
I have two cats.
Okay, nice.
Um,
What kind of cats are they?
what?
What kind of cats are they?
That's a good question. I don't know. A lot of people know dog breeds. Not a lot of people know cat breeds. I
Well,
don't know.
there's Maine Coons and stuff. I didn't know if they were something fancy or if they were
Oh,
just
I mean, I wish. Maine Coons are cool. Like I heard, my dad told me one time, like they can open doors and some can be trained to go to the bathroom and the toilet. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah, I actually know some people who have it's a Savannah cat and their cat uses the toilet.
Crazy.
Yeah, those are the ones that look like the little leopards or whatever. They're
Okay.
kind of yeah, they're fun. But so you kind of were talking about you kind of jumped in and went in there, but I want to kind of slow it down and talk about why you ran because you said your daughter, you said you want people to have health care. But what was the moment that made you want to run and say, I want to put my name in to try to run for Congress?
Really, the results of the 2024 election is what really motivated me to run. After I saw the results of that election, it sat with me for a little bit, and honestly, I was like a little shocked. But um, Like, I realize, we have, whether it's running for Congress or whether it's voting, whether it's getting the vote out, for other candidates, we have a choice we could make. We could sit here and do nothing, or we could sit here and we can, make change ourselves. Everybody can make change. You can make change. I can make change, and the change I wanted to make involved me running for Congress. And I have a platform. I have what I think will help many Americans that are struggling, because there's a lot of Americans who are struggling and they're neglected. Like, they're not focused on what really matters. And that's part of the reason why I'm running.
Yeah. So when you say it was the 2024 election, are you referring to the presidential election specifically or the governor's race?
All of them, honestly. I really like Jennifer McCormick, and I honestly thought she was going to win, but she didn't. It really, it really kind of broke my heart a little bit, because I did vote for her. I'll be honest, but I don't know. I wanted to make change, and I wanted to make change at the federal level, because I think, a lot of the stuff comes top down. And if I can make the change top down, it'll make things better for everybody at the bottom.
Yeah, so let's talk about what your vision is. So let's think you're talking about healthcare. We already know you want universal healthcare for all, it sounds like, because it's cheaper based on everything I've read. It's like, when we're talking about administrative costs, private insurance, it's like something like 70 cents or 30 to 70 cents, depending on who it is, per dollar that they're spending just on administrative costs and like denying claims, basically, and pre-auths and all that bullshit. And so, but then if you look at Medicaid and Medicare, they're only spending like, I don't know, 7 cents or something. So it's a lot less. So I'm like, there's savings right there. So I think that makes sense, but let's get into it a little bit more and what should and should not be legislated. What is your opinion talking about bodily autonomy and what should and should not be legislated?
I believe that people should have the freedom to do what they want with their body. And that I know that's a little broad there, but when it comes to abortions, like, I I'm gonna say I understand it's an emotional thing with people who are against abortions, but at the same time, we can't be letting these kids be born into families that don't want them, because there's nothing worse than living your whole life and your mom just doesn't want to do anything with you, doesn't care about you, doesn't want to see you succeed because she never wanted you in the first place. And what they're thinking is, these kids they're gonna accept their kid one day and they're gonna care about them. That's not the case. They're gonna be neglected. They're not gonna be taken care of. They're gonna get, possibly into crime. They're gonna get in, and this is speaking broadly. Not everybody is going to be the same, but a lot of these kids, they're going to be brought up into households where their parents just don't care, and that's why I'm very, aside from bodily autonomy, that's why I'm very, pro freedom with that. I think when you give people a choice, you give people a choice with having a family, it makes a bigger difference. It makes it to where people who actually want kids are having kids, and that's my opinion on that. And that I know that's going to be a little unpopular with some people in Indiana, but I, you gotta find a balance between freedom and, everything else. So, but that's my opinion on that.
Absolutely. But I think that one thing to bring up is that it's not just about bodily autonomy. It's not just about family planning. At the end of the day, when I look at abortion and the right to choose, I look at it from a mortality rate. I know, just looking at statistics, that if there is a state such as Indiana with a very strict abortion law, which it's like ours is 6 weeks, so like when you can hear the heartbeat, which it's like it doesn't have a heart, it's just fluid moving, but I digress.
Right.
And when that happens, mother mortality rate and infant mortality rate goes up, which means that more women and more children are dying as a result of pregnancy and childbirth. And why does that happen is because at the end of the day, a D&C and an abortion are the exact same thing. And it's just a different terminology. But a DNC is looked at as a medical procedure, and it should be, and it should not be regulated by the government, because when it is, we get people like in October of 2024, we had a young mother in Indiana who she needed a DNC because her pregnancy was not viable. The fetus had passed away and her body did not naturally pass the material. And so a DNC was needed, but because of our laws, they wouldn't give it to her. So she ended up getting an infection that turned into an entire body infection called sepsis, which is very deadly. And she ended up dying. And this was a wanted pregnancy. She left behind a husband and a 2-year-old son. So instead of giving this woman health care and allowing her to try to have another child, instead, because they did nothing, she died. And that's why I am just like, it is absolutely unacceptable to me that like we're legislating anything about this, because these are people's lives and people who actually want children. And if you want children, you should be able to do that. Absolutely. But it shouldn't be a forced thing either. And people shouldn't be losing their uteruses because they're worried that they're going to get sued by the government if they do it too early, or a woman dies because they're trying to wait until her life is at risk, because that's a gray area. Like nobody can say, well, what is life at risk? So I think we need protections for doctors who are performing these life-saving procedures.
I agree. Honestly, we need to trust the opinion of medical experts like doctors. They know, like they've had all kinds of training, went through school. They have likely a lot of experience, and they'll know when something can turn critical. And I think that's important. And what you said, something I agree with, is something I talk about a lot. There's, medical emergencies that need to be addressed, and otherwise the mother could die. So that's another reason why it's important to really, not treat doctors like they don't know what they're talking about. Because that's basically what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, which is
Yeah.
crazy, because think about how much training doctors have. Like, in order to be a doctor, it's like, what, 8 years of school plus residency? And then if you're going to be an OBGYN, who are usually the people who are performing these procedures, that's a specialty, which I'm pretty sure is like another 4 to 6 years on top of that. And then the government, who has zero training and doesn't even, most of the like older Congress people don't even understand how a woman's body works or what organs we have, or trying to make laws about this. It's absolutely absurd to me.
Yeah. Like I said, like I get it's an emotional thing for people, and I'm gonna say their feelings are valid. I mean, and I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that I understand where they're coming from, and I think that's a thing, to say and to believe, because like a lot of these people will have my beliefs and they won't understand the other side. But I mean, I do understand the other side, but at the same time, it's about reducing the risk of people dying,
Mm-hmm.
and also reducing the risk of putting these kids in the lives where they're not wanted. Like
Yeah.
what kind of life do you want to live, or like what kind of life do you want these kids to live where they're not wanted? Or even if they go to the fire station where they accept kids, like do you really want them to go into the foster care system where they'll never have like parents? That's I think that's insane, honestly. And my views on abortion are pretty reasonable. If the fetus can't feel pain, then it's acceptable. But once the fetus can feel pain, it's not, unless it risks the mother's life, and especially the baby's life too at the same time.
Yeah.
But
I think for me, I think that they got it right with Roe. I think that that the age of viability is important, right? So like if the fetus is able to survive outside the womb with medical intervention, then that's the age of viability. And yeah, you should probably have the child unless there's a legitimate reason not to, like a medical reason, which is fine. It's like, because if you look at like third trimester, terminations, they're very, very rare. It's like 0.01% or 1% of all terminations. And it's never like, oh, I just don't want this child. That is never the case. It's always, this child is brain dead. This child is going to be in excruciating pain the moment they are born, and they will pass away quickly. It's tragic situations like that. I think that there's just so much harmful rhetoric and misinformation on this subject that a lot of people, they need to hear it a lot, that it's just like, that's not the majority. Most of the terminations that are choosing just to not want to have children are happening before the first trimester is over.
It's crazily enough, and this is my belief, and I could be wrong, I'll admit, but the crazy thing is it's not really about like preserving life. It's really more like, from what I've read and I looked into it, because I do care, but it's more like they feel like you're not being responsible if you don't take responsibility for this kid. And once you get, like, if you get pregnant, it's like a responsibility thing, and that's really more what they care about. They justify it later with saying we want to, save lives. But
but is
like,
it is it right to say that a child is punishment for having sex?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think it is.
I mean,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, after a certain point, after somebody gets pregnant, and then it's like, really, you're waiting that long. But there needs to be some responsibility. But not allowing people to get abortions when they need it or early on is, I think, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you talking about unwanted pregnancies, and I think there's so many people who think that just adoption is just the easy way to go, but you're right. Like, a lot of these kids end up in the foster system, end up bounced around, end up not ever having a family. And that's not fair either. And there are a lot of people who believe that adoption is trauma because of how it's done. And I'm not well versed in that, but there are problematic things in all areas. Like, there's never going to be a perfect solution. So I think just giving people the choice just makes sense when nothing's going to be perfect and everybody has differing degrees of opinions. It's like, okay, in that case, everybody, here's your choices and you do what's best for you. Because I've known people who their parents did not want them. I am a widow, and my first husband, he was not wanted. And it was very clear by his mom. And I was glad that she was not around when I met him. She had passed away, and that just the stories that he told me, the scars, literal scars on his back. It's very obvious that he was not wanted. And that really took a toll on him because they know. And that's so sad to me too.
It is, honestly, I'm a proponent of finding a happy medium. I mean, obviously, abortion shouldn't be the first thing people go for, right? We need to expand access to contraceptives and more education, right? Like, I don't think you should be like, oh, well, I got pregnant, so I'm gonna go get an abortion. I think we need to make sure they have access first, and you do it the more responsible way, which is, making sure you're taking your birth control and condoms for guys, right? But you know, having a little bit of responsibility there is important too. But if accidents do happen, and that's my belief.
Well,
And
and and you can have pregnancies on birth control. Like, people
yeah,
are on birth control and they can't get pregnant because it's dangerous for them too. And it's like, those situations do happen. Nothing's 100%. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Minnesota and starting to come towards Indiana. What are your thoughts on immigration reform?
in terms of immigration, the biggest priority for me, well, I guess I can say it's the biggest. I have a couple, but I think, honestly, like, the reason why a lot of people cross illegally is because of the asylum process. It takes 10 years, 15 years, like, to just get your case reviewed. and that's not enough time for people. And I think we need to add more staff so the cases could be reviewed faster. I'm a proponent of, making the border better, making it to where people can't cross over easy, massively reducing illegal immigration. I think it's important. I think the process is important. But with the people that are already here, we need to treat them humanely. Okay, and that's something that's not happening. A lot of people aren't being treated humanely. And it makes me sad to see all this stuff on the news about people, getting treated so poorly. Like I've seen a lot of pictures where people are like in like very vulnerable positions, if that makes sense. Uh, but like ICE needs to be massively reformed, and I'm saying that for the future too. Like even after this presidency, like we need to make sure that they have more training for one, and we also need to make sure that they have a more strict rule based warrant like process. Maybe it doesn't have to be warrants, so we're not overwhelming the Justice Department, but something similar that makes it to where we're getting the correct people all the time. The people that are actually criminals, they can be deported. Although it's not really a whole lot. If they'll make it out to be like there's a whole lot of criminals, but it's not really. In fact, a lot of people that cross over here illegally are actually good citizens, surprisingly. Like they actually contribute a lot. But for the people that don't have any criminal records, I think we should give them a chance to apply for citizenship before deportation. If they don't want to, you got to have some sort of process, right? So we can, get them integrated into the system. It's important for like Social Security and all that, right? But giving them a chance to apply for citizenship, deporting people with criminal records, more like violent criminal records, and especially the 14th Amendment. That's very important. The people that were born here from uh, immigrants, they definitely do need to have that guaranteed. Because I saw on the news one time that somebody that was here for like 18 years, well, they were like in college, they got deported, which doesn't make sense to me. I I heard that on the news. I'm not entirely sure about the validity, I'll be honest, but I'm sure that is happening. But that's my stance on immigration. I think we need to find a healthy balance between enforcing it, especially getting the people out with that actually have criminal records and treating people humanely and preventing future immigration because this is really just an issue that never gets fully resolved. So it's like always a talking point because we never actually resolved the issue, right? We never resolved the asylum process. We never resolved like the problems we're having at the border. I don't know if it's so they have something to campaign on or what, but
I
right.
was,
But
yeah, it's weird, right? Because there was an immigration bill that went through, but Donald Trump tanked it because he didn't want it. I think he wanted to campaign on the border being out of control, and people fell for it. It's what it is. But let's talk about a little bit different type of area. Like, what are your feelings on Gaza and Israel?
so in terms of Gaza and Israel, so I was actually more sympathetic for Palestine before anybody was because I knew the history. Like if you look at it, sorry, world after World War II, they actually moved all the people out of Palestine, kicked them out of their houses because actually a lot of Israel was actually Muslim at that time. What we consider Israel today, I don't know what country it was called at the time, but they took all the Jews, all the Jewish people from Europe, and they moved them into Europe, or not Europe, sorry, into Israel, and they gave them their own country. And all the Muslims that were living in the area got compacted into this little circular country right in the middle of the country. No ports or anything. Like you have to actually go through Israeli airspace to even exit the country or Israeli land. But honestly, with that, Israel needs to return the land that they stole that they've been slowly taking, and they need to come to a peace agreement, and they also need reparations because of the stuff they've been doing. Like they've been bombing kids, like I've seen it,
It's
I
all.
watched it. I
It's like we
watched.
all. It's
Go
horrible.
ahead.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just awful. Like, I just don't understand how a group of people who say they are pro life can also support bombing children.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to me.
It it's like from what I've heard, it's more like a religious thing. Like Israel belongs to the Jewish people, and they shouldn't be there anyways. I think could be wrong, honestly, but that's just what I've heard. But you see, like logically, it doesn't make sense, right? But a lot of these positions are emotional ones, and emotions usually don't make a whole lot of sense.
So
So
maybe that's a good reason why we should have super strong separation of church and state, because religion seems to be more emotional, not rational. What are your thoughts?
honestly, I respect people's freedom to, or sorry, freedom of religion is what I meant. But if you want to like take a Bible to school and read it, as long as you're doing your coursework, that's okay. Or if you want to take a Quran or a Torah, to school, or if you want to integrate that into your life, it's important for a lot of people. Some people it gives them a sense of balance in their life, emotional comfort, but we shouldn't. If we're going to legislate something that's religious, it needs to be fair to all religions, and that's why I'm against the Ten Commandments being in schools because it doesn't fairly recognize other religions. And I mean, the best compromise for that would be to allow like possibly religious mentors to come in. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure how the idea would work, but it would have to be equal, and that's the important thing: equal and fair for everybody. Because
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I agree. No, it's fine. I agree. I was going to say that, they're not supposed to establish a religion. And I think that just putting up one religion's doctrine in every school and library is choosing a religion, which is unconstitutional, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
just, I don't see how they don't see it that way.
the mindset they have is, oh, if we expose them to the Bible, they'll want to go to God, and like I get that, but the thing is like like I'm gonna put myself in their shoes for a minute, okay? Speaking from their perspective, that is what they believe. But my opinion is you can't force somebody to believe something, right? You can't force them to like be a Christian, right? That's not how it works. And honestly, the more you push it on somebody, the less they're gonna want to do it. So if you really want somebody to come to Christianity and you're a Christian, just be a good role model and a good person. And when they ask you why, just say why, right? But you can't force it. Like it won't bring people to Christianity. That's just it's doing the opposite.
Yeah.
But aside from that, separation of church and state is in the Constitution, and that's how it should be. We cannot establish a religion in the United States. It has to be equal. And like even speaking from like or sorry, even like Christians themselves when they want to establish all these like religious things that are in favor of Christianity, it doesn't really work out because there's so many different branches of Christianity. Like you can't everybody's saying something different, so how are you even supposed to do that?
I That is a great point that they never have a very good answer for. My other concern
Yeah.
about having religious leaders coming into the school systems is that I would want there to be um, some sort of rigorous background check that these people would have to go through. And I think that they would need some pretty direct supervision, perhaps, because we just based on statistics, we know that certain things tend to happen more in religious sections of our society, and I have concerns for the children about that personally.
Yeah, no, that's an important point. Not too much, to be honest. It's not one of my main points on my platform, main things I'm advocating for. But, that's a very good point you made.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could have some teachers in there or something like that. I'm not entirely sure on that one.
Yeah, just a thought I'm just putting ideas in people's heads. It's fine. So tell me about veterans. Do you think we're taking care of veterans in America right now, or are we kind of falling down on our promise to taking care of veterans?
Oh yeah, especially with mental health. A lot of veterans aren't getting the mental health care they need. Like especially the ones, I believe a lot, the newest war, the Iraq war, that brings a lot of people. That brought a lot of people with PTSD. So like we need to focus on making and with mental health for veterans, the sooner you get to it, the better. But unfortunately, we waited too long. But right now, we just need to focus on honestly just making them or helping them. Or sorry, I can't talk. Helping them with their mental health. That's important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that this kind of goes together because a large population, like about half of our homeless population, are veterans. And that's because of their mental health. And I think that shows that we failed them. But I think it's also due to the housing crisis and
Yeah.
unaffordability. So, what are your plans to help fix the housing crisis?
Well, with the housing crisis, I'm not sure if you've heard about it. Have you heard of land value tax? If you
No,
haven't, I can explain it.
go ahead.
Okay, so with land value tax, it you get taxed the same as everybody within a certain radius. So let me try to explain this and not in like a non super academic way. I'm not trying to put jargon in there. Instead of getting taxed for the house, you get taxed for the value of the land the house is on. So essentially, if you demolish the housing on a property, or if you demolish the building on a property, you still pay the same taxes as if there was a property on there. So it provides more incentives for people to build housing because they're paying a lot in property tax. And rather than not having anything on there, they're going to build something or they're going to sell it to somebody that's going to build something on there. But with housing, it's supply and demand. And unfortunately, the construction of new homes is slow. It hasn't met market demand. So we need to stimulate the building of new houses through grants, through land value tax, and make housing affordable for Americans. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's gone up a lot since COVID.
Yeah. It's been crazy since COVID. Yeah, I sold my first home during COVID. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was wild. I had so many people, like 10 offers, and they were all over asking. It was
yeah,
crazy.
oh
Uh,
yeah.
but some of it was from like a BlackRock company. Do you think that companies should be able to buy private homes?
Homes are for people. Um, and that's my belief, honestly. And even there's a lot of foreign interests that are buying up land too that shouldn't be. We need to prioritize Americans going to these homes, not companies buying them up. And the same even goes for people who buy out all these houses just to rent them out on Airbnb. That's another crisis. It's more of a crisis in areas that are popular with tourists, but it's still a problem nonetheless. But honestly, I mean, I don't think corporations should be in homes. I don't
Yeah.
think they should be buying up homes.
Do you think that will help if we stop corporations from building homes, maybe build more condos like or townhomes, like more homes in a smaller space?
Yeah,
And I think that it's going to be like a multi-level thing. I think it's pretty complex because it's been so screwed up over decades that I think it's going to take some time personally.
and they're fine with the stuff, or sorry, the land that they build condos on, apartments on. That's already zoned as commercial.
Hmm.
It's just buying up the residential land that's really the problem.
I didn't realize that for apartments it had to be commercial. That doesn't make
I
sense.
believe so. I believe so.
Hmm. That's strange. But let's talk
Yeah.
more about the economy. How do you feel our economy is doing? Do you think the tariffs are working? Do you think we need to restructure our taxation system? What are your thoughts?
So with the tariffs, I don't think it's working at all. It's not, and I think I targeted tariffs are the way to go. Okay, I'll be honest with you. But tariffs across the board, like or tariffing Britain for whatever reason, for example, that doesn't make any sense. But I'm a proponent of free trade. But free trade, the problem with the way we're doing it right now is it takes advantage of people in poor countries. Like they're getting paid like $1 a day, for example. Like, and that's for like 12 hours worth of work. So my belief is that we should have free trade, but it needs to be fair and equal with the wages. So if they don't pay within like the bottom 20% of the median range for wages in a certain industry or sector, then they should get tariffed. Enforcing wages, or sorry, enforcing like the living wages for these people in other countries will help us because it will make it more fair. You won't have these companies that are like, way underpricing what it would actually cost to make it in America. That way, America and other countries are on a level playing field, and we actually have free trade. And
Yeah.
that's something. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, someone just commented that they haven't heard someone dislike tariffs while also bringing up third world wages before. So props to you. I just wanted to let you know the comment because I was like, yeah, it was a good little comment from you. So keep
All
going.
right.
Sorry, I just wanted to share.
Yeah, but like that's the way to go with free trade, make it to where we're not exploiting people in other countries. Like that's the biggest problem. That's the reason why so many companies are moving away from America is so they can pay them way less,
Yeah.
right?
So this might bring
So
companies back.
yeah, if we make them make it equal, they're gonna come back. They're not gonna pay like somebody in China like $20 an hour to work at a warehouse, like at an Apple factory, for example. You know what I mean? So that I think that's a happy medium between free trade and tariffs, making
Yeah.
it equal.
Makes sense. But what do you think of our taxation system? Do we need to be um, promoting more progressive tax systems, or is it fine how it is? What are your thoughts?
So with taxes, I'm 100% for taxing the rich, and I don't mean unfairly. I don't mean like taxing like 80%, but I think they should pay their taxes, and they get out of it through all these complicated loopholes, getting loans on stocks and all that, so they don't have to pay anything. But they need to pay what people at the top tax bracket pay. And the reason why I'm not wanting to tax them more is because I would rather tax them through their businesses because that's where they make their money. And I know a lot of these companies have been getting out of paying taxes through trickle down economics, which is honestly a failed concept. Trickle down economics never really worked, but I believe in taxing corporations more and giving tax breaks to small businesses. Like, for example, small businesses should not pay over 25% in taxes. That's my belief with that. Cooperatives should pay even less. Do you know what a cooperative is?
No.
Okay, so a cooperative is a worker-owned business. So everybody owns a stake in the company and they all own a little share in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So in addition to that, really what I'm saying is tax them mostly through competition and also raise the tax rates for them. So make it to where small businesses can succeed and actually compete in the market, make them fight for their market share, and you won't have so many people. You won't have this concentration of wealth in these corporations and in these billionaires and trillionaires possibly. Elon Musk is actually sorry. Elon Musk is actually on the verge of being a trillionaire. That's how much money he has.
Which is crazy. No one needs that much money. No one. And I think that people need to realize when people have that much money, it corrupts them because absolute power corrupts absolutely, and money is power. So it's like when you have that much power, things aren't exciting anymore, and things like the Epstein files happen. So just on that alone, people should not want people to be billionaires or trillionaires.
And it comes from this evolutionary urge people have to like accumulate resources. Like that's how we survived out in the wild back before we had modern day houses, grocery stores. We'd want to accumulate as much as we could because that would give us, some wiggle room if things were scarce. But that just kind of runs away when you have all this access to capital, and capital makes more capital really easy. If you have a lot of money, you can make more money really easy. So it just keeps, it's like a runaway urge to hoard all this stuff, and some people that's expressed more like with hoarders, and it's expressed in different ways, but with them it's expressed with money. They don't need all that money. They're not even spending the money, which is actually hurting the economy, because if the money is not being spent, the economy is not going. That's how an economy is gauged, is how much spending and savings going or happening. I mean, so really, just supporting small businesses by giving them tax breaks. What I meant to say is lowering the tax rate for them. In addition, I also support the immediate expensing of land, equipment, and other stuff for them, so they immediately are able to write it off immediately. That way, we can grow small businesses. I want to also offer small loans to aspiring entrepreneurs. I think that's important to really get small business going, because that is the lifeline of America. The ability to start your own business, succeed, and do well for yourself. But these corporations that have all this money, they have so much money and so much power that it's almost it's almost impossible for people to start their own business. Like Walmart, for example, in the 90s, they ran all these small businesses out of business through predatory pricing. And that's another thing I'm against. But really, it's just focusing on small business, taxing corporations properly, and taxing the rich properly.
Yeah. Are you looking to remove the cap on the Social Security tax?
I could see that being something I would do. Yes.
Because
It's not something. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's how you continue to fund Social Security, is that, again, we just want people to be paying their taxes. And it's like, I think it's like $21,000 is the cap currently. And I'm sorry, Elon Musk should be paying way more than $21,000 towards Social Security. When
I agree.
He's a trillionaire. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. They just keep on accumulating all this money, and it never gets spent, and the economy is suffering because of that. So really, it's just like I said, it's just taxing them through their businesses, taxing them through competition. Like, if you don't do it that way, they're just going to move their bank accounts to some different country and do all these different tax loopholes. So really, that's the best way to tax them, is through making them work harder.
Yeah, maybe leveling the playing field a bit so that people can actually succeed who are trying to make small businesses.
Yeah, exactly. And with all these with all these big businesses, they don't have to compete for your business anymore because they have like almost total market share. Or they, like, for example, Amazon, they have so much of the market share, they don't really have to compete anymore. That goes for Walmart too. I mean, you're not seeing any, small town grocers anymore. They're not really having to compete, and they're not competing with stuff or with businesses like Dollar General. That's totally different. But it's really just bringing competition back, making it to where people can actually start a business, and which is also that's a very core principle of the American dream. Being able to start your own small business, succeed, and live a good life because of that. And I think that's something we've lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about something that has been a big talking point in Indiana, is utility bills. Our utility bills are skyrocketing because Indiana doesn't make enough energy. We use more energy than we create. How do we get these bills down? Because a $600 electric bill is insane.
First off, we stopped building data centers. We stopped allowing them to go wherever they want, more or less. That would be the first step. And the second step is investing in renewable energy. We have a lot of land that could be used for renewable energy. That would be a lot better than having a data center there. I'd rather have like 1 million solar panels on a plot of land that used to be a farm than this giant data center farm. But it's just really focusing on expanding renewable energy. Um, and I think as long as we do that, I think we can keep up with energy demands, and also maybe investing more money and creating or figuring out ways to um, extract more resources for now until we can get to a place to where we can start relying more on renewable energy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that I don't want to see farmland taken up by solar panels, but I think that we could totally put them over parking lots, on the top of large buildings and things like that. I think there are other options that doesn't take away farmland that would be a better solution, because then you at least you have like, because if you've ever been to the Cincinnati Zoo, they have solar panels over their entire parking lot, so it shades the parking lot, but it also provides power for the zoo.
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying put it on farmland. I'm just saying if I had the choice, I'd rather have the
Oh,
solar
okay.
panels. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying.
okay, but go
Yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was gonna say, like, we have about 15 minutes left. I want to know if what are some topics that you really want to talk about that we haven't touched on.
Okay, so one of the biggest core components of my platform is actually enforcing antitrust law. Has not been enforced really at all. I'll be honest with you. And that's another, that's related to the corporation, the point I made about that, they don't have to compete for your business anymore. We need to break up businesses like Amazon. They own, they own so much stuff and they've absorbed so many different companies and really they're almost too big to fail. They got so much going on, like they don't really have to worry about it anymore. So that's another thing. Let me see. I'm trying to go off the big points in my platform. Another thing I'd like to see, and European countries have, like um, more like the Scandinavian countries, is I'd like to see employee representation on corporate boards. And I believe Norway or Sweden, one of the two, they actually require corporations to have 1/4 employee representation, which actually allows workers to really negotiate like directly at the corporate level. I'm not going to say they're like doing all these things in bad faith and they're trying to hurt workers. Some, yes, but some maybe not. But really, just having them there, giving them a voice will make a big difference. In addition to that, I'm very pro union. I will pass the PRO Act when in office. I think that's going to be one of the first things, aside from Medicare for all. That'll be one of the first things I pass. And it's just important because, like, if you look at these companies like FedEx, they use the contractor loophole to avoid allowing people who should be able to unionize, and it's hurting them. They could just get rid of them. Or Amazon, that's an even better one. Like the drivers try to unionize, now they're trying to say, "Oh yeah, you're actually not part of our company. You're employed through some third party contractor thing." But unions, when they came about, I think it was in the late 1800s, they made a big difference. People started making a lot more money, and quality of life really just started improving. So that's why we need to focus on that. See what else? I have such a big platform. I'm not sure if that's normal for candidates, but I really thought it out.
That's good. It's good to
Yeah,
think things through. I think, people want to know that you know what you're doing. Um, but remind me where you work again right now. I know you said it, but I forgot.
UPS.
UPS. Okay. But it sounds like you've gone to college. Like it sounds like you're pretty, I don't know if you've just educated yourself, but did you go to school?
Yeah, well, I didn't go to school for anything like political science or anything like that, but a lot of my knowledge is from like I actually care and I'm actually reading a lot of books. I'm still reading books, educating myself. A lot of these I buy a lot of academic books to kind of understand it because I want to be somebody who's competent in office. I don't want to be that guy who doesn't really know what he's doing that somehow got elected, because people were sick of the incumbent. But yeah, I've invested a lot of time. Like I'll spend like 20 hours a week just reading through these books, and they're very dry books. They're very dry, but I'm teaching myself, and I really care. I'm trying to find different solutions we can implement here. I'm reading books about how other countries operate, what things they're doing right, what things they're doing wrong, what could we do here, and how could we implement that here, and what are really our problems here.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, solutions, because that's what we need. The last thing I want is to just not focus on something because I want it to help me get elected.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to focus on everything and make politics boring. That's my goal. Make it boring.
Make it
But
boring. I
yeah,
could use some boring. That's fine.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
just
it's been too exciting. Politics has been way too exciting and stressful
yeah,
recently.
it is, especially if you're on social media. They push everything bad. You'll see bad stuff after bad thing after bad thing on your social media feed. And honestly, it's really affecting Americans' mental health.
Yeah, and I think that kind of plays into a lot of these things overlap, right? Like the American mental health crisis in general is a big problem, but it's that could be easily solved if we had universal health care.
Yeah. And I want people to have healthcare like I have healthcare, okay? Like you shouldn't have to go broke over healthcare. Okay? That's not something that should be normalized. It's not.
It's
And
$2,000 a month.
yeah, like I'm just lucky, because I have good insurance, but for the many people that don't, that's a big problem. You shouldn't have to worry about it going to the hospital because they're not even going to ask you if you need an ambulance. They're going to take you in the ambulance. They're going to treat you anyways. It's not even an option. So why are we forcing people to go to the hospital when we're not sure that they want to go to the hospital and then charging them for one, if we're not going to give them free healthcare? But honestly, people need free healthcare. It's time. It's time. It's free for everybody. It's not some specialized plan where you can get this or you can get private healthcare or anything like that. It's time for good healthcare for Americans because that's what Americans deserve. They deserve good healthcare, and they deserve healthcare that's similar to what we have, or sorry, what they have in Europe.
Yeah. I mean, every other developed nation has figured it out. Are we not smart enough to figure it out?
We're too divided, really. Like it's like a culture war. Like how I don't get how ensuring people have good health care and good health outcomes is a culture war.
Because it's been things that shouldn't have been politicized, such as healthcare. And just like COVID was, it's used as a weapon. The division is a purposeful tool that one side tends to use more than the other to cause division and win elections, I think.
Yeah, and I'll admit stuff like that happens on both sides, unfortunately. But that's because it gets them more money from their donors. Like if you create some sort of culture war, it's gonna give you more money, and that's an unfortunate thing with politics is the money game. And in addition to that, something I wanted to bring up, corporate PAC money should never be involved in politics. And corporations should never be involved in politics. That's why we need to repeal it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you want to repeal Citizens United then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not fair to people for corporations to give people more of a voice than your average person. Because if you think about it, everybody gets to donate their own amount of money, and then some people who actually have a lot of money in these corporations gets to have more say in with their opinions and what they want. It should be equal representation. If you are, what I'm trying to say is it should only. Sorry, I'm sorry. What am I trying to say here? People should have people. What am I trying to say? I'm sorry. I'm just kind
People
of.
should have a say, and
Yeah.
they should have a say, and a corporation shouldn't have that much say to begin with. Corporations are not people. Corporations do not have a heartbeat. Corporations do not have a brain. It is a collection of people. So why should something that is not a human being have more say than actual Americans?
Yeah, and the government represents the people, not corporations. That's the whole reason we created the government. As Lincoln said, it's the government for the people, by the people.
I think we've lost that somewhere along the way. Would you say you are a person who is going to vote whether it is beneficial to Americans versus not beneficial? Like, how do you see yourself voting on most things? Like, how do you what's your thought process, I guess?
Voting on like things like banning corporate PAC money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would legislate a bill. I would create a bill that would ban that, and I would vote for it. Or if somebody brings it up, I would vote for it. And it doesn't really hurt you if you think about it, because if you are really a good politician, people are going to want to vote for you. If you're relying on corporate PAC money and corporations like funding your campaign as much as they can, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah, because then it's like, well, if you've got to do what they want, or they're not going to fund your next campaign. So if you start relying on that, it becomes this snowball effect because it's like, well, I want these people to give me more money so I can win again. So I better do what they want. Which is why I think it's important that people are grassroots. It sounds like you are grassroots. And I want to remind everyone that if you even have just a few dollars, or maybe you want to donate like $1 a month or something, that really helps all of these grassroots campaigns. Every dollar truly matters. And Thomas, where can people find you if they would want to donate?
So there's my website, electthomas.com. Depending on what kind of browser you're using, what kind of phone you're using, it's kind of funky. So it might not look right, but I wanted to make sure I had a website up for people. But you can find me there, or actblue.com. I think it's /Thomas D. Hall Jr. It's on my website too, where you can just type in Thomas D. Hall Jr. into Google. It should bring up all the links and all that. But those are a few places you can find me. And donate as well.
Yeah. And you also have a Facebook page. Are there any other pages that we should be aware of?
Yeah, so I have a link tree. Is link dot sorry link. I'm trying to remember the link. linktr.ee/Thomas D. Hall Jr. or something like. It's also on my Facebook too. If you're looking for my social media links, or it's also on my website as well. So yeah, you can find it there. If you can't find it, just email me at thomas@electthomas.com, and I'll give you a link.
All right. Well, great. Well, if you want to go check him out at electthomas.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure. Well, thank you. It's okay. There's so many different ones. It's always like your name for or elect somebody. So it's just like trying to keep them all straight.
Well, I was inspired by John Ossoff's link. Like, you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
His website. Well, he's a Democrat in Georgia, and his website is electjohn.com. And I was like, I like that.
Okay.
So I took it for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and I am excited to see how you do, and I hope to hear from you soon.
All right. Awesome.
Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next time.